Unaware his wife had just inherited their $65 million family company, husband and mistress beat her and threw her and her newborn into the garage. What she did next shocked everyone. He didn't just betray her. He didn't just lie or cheat. He did something far colder, something that no mother, no woman, no human being should ever face in her own home. It happened on a quiet night, in the hallway that once held their wedding photos. Emily Hart, a devoted new mother cradling her 3-week-old daughter, stood trembling as her husband Mark stormed toward her with a rage she had never seen. Behind him, hidden in the shadows of the house she kept spotless, stood another woman. Rachel, the woman whose scarf Emily had found in their laundry, the woman whose perfume clung to Mark's clothes. The woman who had been inside their home long before Emily realized she wasn't alone. The cruelest part? Mark didn't know the truth. He didn't know that the quiet wife who stayed home had just inherited Hartwell Industries, her father's $65 million company. He didn't know she owned the very business he worked for. He didn't know she had become the one person who could end his entire future with a signature. But blind arrogance makes people careless. So that night, pushed on by the mistress who whispered poison into his ear, Mark grabbed the woman who loved him, struck her across the face, ripped Lily's carrier from her arm, and dragged Emily toward the cold, unfinished garage. While the baby cried, Rachel pulled the door open, shoved Emily hard, and together they threw a new mother and her newborn into the freezing dark. They thought she would stay silent. They thought she would remain weak. They thought she had no one. What they didn't see was the tiny blinking red light above them. The hidden camera her father had installed before he died. The same camera that began uploading everything, second by second, straight into a secure system watched by her father's lawyer and the private security team that still protected his only child. This isn't just the story of a cruel husband and a shameless mistress. This is the story of what happens when a woman everyone underestimated finally rises. With truth, with evidence, with power she never wanted, but now needed to use. Dear viewers, thank you for being here. If you watch without subscribing, it's like leaving Emily alone in that cold garage the way Mark and Rachel did. When you subscribe, you stand with every quiet soul who was betrayed, underestimated, and still found the strength to rise again. Please subscribe now and tell me in the comments where you're watching from. The sound hit first, sharp, sudden, and far too loud for a peaceful home. A car door slammed outside, or maybe a neighbor dropped something heavy next door. Lily, only 3 weeks old, let out a soft cry as the noise faded. Emily Hart, 28 years old, tightened her hold on the tiny bundle in her arms and rocked gently until the child settled again. Her heart always jumped at sudden sounds now. Not because she was scared of motherhood. She loved her daughter more than she loved her own breath. But because peace in this house never lasted long anymore. The scene settled. A warm, dim light filled the bedroom. Emily sat on the edge of her bed, humming a soft tune her mother once used to sing. Her movements were careful, almost too careful, as if she feared even the room itself might hurt the baby if she made a wrong move. She wore a simple robe. Exhaustion sat under her eyes like a quiet shadow, but her face still carried softness. On the bedside table rested a small metal badge, smooth, gold-edged. Its surface caught the lamplight. Emily's fingers brushed against it every few minutes, an unconscious habit, a ritual built over years. At 12 years old, she had stood in her father's study, watching his proud eyes as he pressed that same badge into her palm. "You'll understand responsibility one day," he had said. She didn't understand then. She understood now. Emily Hart was the only child of Richard Hart, founder of Hartwell Industries, a company valued at $65 million. A company built on trust, loyalty, and quiet endurance. When her father passed unexpectedly 3 months earlier, she wished for nothing but more time with him. Instead, she received an inheritance she never asked for. The entire company, all assets, all shares. And with that inheritance came a lawyer she barely knew, a dozen legal documents she barely understood, and the weight of a legacy she didn't feel ready to carry. The lawyer, Mr. Fenton, a kind middle-aged man with calm eyes, had said in a steady voice, "Your father's will is final. You're the sole heir." Those words still echoed in her mind, but she hadn't told her husband yet. Mark Anderson, 32, her husband of 3 years, always said a woman shouldn't stress after childbirth. He insisted she quit her job during pregnancy for the baby's sake. He insisted she manage the house alone so he could focus on work. And he insisted she stay out of family business, claiming it would only overwhelm her. During the last months of her pregnancy, when Mark's phone broke, he had briefly signed into his messaging account on her old device, just for work. Ever since then, some of his messages still synced quietly to her phone. They had both forgotten about it until now, so she stayed quiet. She always stayed quiet. Her parents had never fought. Her father treated her mother like something rare and gentle. Emily believed marriage worked the same way if you gave enough love. She held that belief like a candle in a storm, trying to shield its flame from every harsh moment that came with Mark's changing moods. She tucked Lily closer and let her cheek rest against the baby's soft hair. The child's tiny breath steadied her own. She told herself she didn't mind the sacrifices. She told herself she didn't mind the long hours alone. She told herself she didn't mind the sudden coldness in Mark's voice these days. But deep inside, something small and scared whispered that she did mind. Her gaze drifted to the badge again. Her father had trusted her. He believed she had strength she had never thought she would need. A flash of memory flickered. Mr. Fenton's voice weeks before Lily's birth. "We'll keep everything quiet until you decide. Announcing it too soon could bring pressure or the wrong kind of interest. The company security team and I will monitor the house systems in the background. You'll get alerts too. You're not alone." "Emily?" She agreed. She wanted to see who Mark became when she had nothing to offer but love and loyalty. Lily shifted slightly in her arms, breaking the memory. Emily smiled down at her newborn's tiny face. She kissed her forehead gently, but the quiet moment cracked. Her phone buzzed against the sheets. The vibration was sharp in the still room, vibrating against her leg with an urgency that didn't feel right. Emily's breath hesitated. Carefully, she adjusted Lily onto a soft pillow beside her, making sure the baby was secure. She reached for the phone. The screen lit up. A message preview from a number not saved in her contacts, but synced through Mark's old login. "We can't keep sneaking around. She's getting suspicious." Emily froze. A chill moved slowly up her spine, cold and deliberate. Her fingers tightened around the phone. Her eyes rose instinctively toward the bedroom door, half expecting it to move. Who sent that? Sneaking around? Suspicious? Her heart thudded once, painfully. She stared again at her sleeping daughter, the one pure thing in her life. Then at the badge, her father's legacy. Her chest pulled tight with fear, confusion, and a sudden rising dread she didn't yet know how to name. Somewhere in the house, a floorboard creaked. Emily held her breath, and in the hallway, faint and distant, a second phone buzzed. Mark's phone, just before falling silent. She didn't know it yet, but the first crack had already formed, and the sound it would make when it finally shattered would change everything. The front door slammed so hard the walls trembled. Lily startled awake in Emily's arms, crying loudly. Emily squeezed her daughter close, heart racing for reasons she couldn't name yet. The sudden noise, too forceful, too careless, felt like a warning shot cutting through the quiet house. Mark Anderson, 32, stepped into the hallway, breathing fast as if he'd rushed inside to hide something. His shirt was wrinkled, the top buttons undone, and something clung to him, a scent that wasn't his, a sweet perfume, light and floral, the kind Emily never used. He froze when he saw Emily holding Lily near the living room doorway, her eyes wide from the shock of the slammed door. And then, in a voice too calm to be real, he said, "Relax. You always overreact." He walked over, kissed Lily's forehead lightly, but didn't look at Emily. Not once. She watched him carefully, the message from her phone still burning like a knife behind her ribs. "We can't keep sneaking around." She's getting suspicious. She hadn't shown it to him. She hadn't even breathed a word. But her eyes had been searching him all evening, trying to catch the truth hiding behind his movements. And his movements gave her more answers than his words ever had. He set his bag down too quickly. He turned away from her too fast. He wiped something, lip gloss, off his shirt collar when he thought she wasn't looking. A small smear of pale pink. Emily's chest tightened. A sharp memory cut through her. Mark 2 years before, back when he was the man she thought he was. He used to walk into the house with open arms. He used to pull her close by the waist, laughing softly into her hair. He used to bring home flowers for no reason at all. He used to act like he couldn't breathe without her. But that man had been fading for months, replaced by someone colder, someone sharper around the edges, someone who now smelled like another woman. Emily swallowed her hurt and said quietly, "You're late." Mark stiffened. "I had work. Don't start." She didn't argue. She was too tired, too overwhelmed, and too confused. Instead, she followed him with her eyes, every step, every twitch. He pulled out his phone and held it close to his chest, angling the screen away from her. A new lock screen appeared, complex numbers she'd never seen before. He noticed her looking and frowned. "Why are you staring at me like that?" Emily shook her head softly. "I'm not." "You are," he snapped too quickly. "Just don't." He brushed past her on his way to the kitchen, and she noticed he tucked his phone under his arm with unusual caution, as if fearing she might grab it. Another memory surfaced, a soft flashback. Emily and Mark during their first year of marriage, sharing passwords without hesitation, laughing over shared secrets. Back then, he would leave his phone on the table without a thought. Now he guarded it like a treasure. She steadied herself. "Can we talk about something? About a message I saw earlier?" His back stiffened. "What message?" He cut in sharply, spinning around. Emily's breath hitched. He hadn't said, "What message did you get?" He said, "What message?" As if he already feared which one she meant. She took a small step back. "A text popped up on my phone. Your account is still logged in from when your old phone broke. It said, 'We can't keep sneaking around.' She's getting suspicious." For 1 second, barely a heartbeat, his face drained of color. She saw it, a small crack in his calm. Then he covered it with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. "You shouldn't worry about things you don't understand." His tone was gentle, but the words were knives. He walked past her again, toward the back door. His phone buzzed. He stopped, glanced at her, then stepped outside to answer it. Through the doorframe, Emily heard it. Soft giggling, female, clear as day. Her breath trembled. She clutched Lily closer, afraid her shaking might wake the baby again. The giggling continued, along with Mark's low voice. Sweet, gentle, nothing like how he had spoken to her just seconds ago. When he finally walked back in, he forced a smile that sat wrong on his face. A smile pulled like a mask over panic. "Don't go snooping around," he said. His voice was calm, but his eyes were a warning. Emily didn't respond, didn't breathe, didn't blink. Her gaze drifted toward the garage door behind him. For the first time, she noticed it was slightly open, just an inch, like someone had used it recently and forgotten to close it properly. A thin draft moved through the hallway. Mark followed her stare and quickly nudged the door shut with his foot. Too quickly, too desperate, too familiar. Quietly, a thought rose in Emily's mind. Cold, alarming, impossible to ignore. What is he hiding in there? The sound of something soft hitting the floor snapped Emily out of her thoughts like a slap. Lily's tiny blanket had slipped from the laundry basket, landing beside the hamper with a sharp rustle that echoed too loudly in the quiet afternoon. Emily jerked upright, her nerves already stretched thin from the night before. The sudden noise felt like a warning again, sharp, out of place, unsettling. She steadied her breathing, picked up the blanket, and reached into the hamper for the rest of the laundry. But halfway through, her fingers paused. Something smooth, silky, not hers. She pulled it out slowly. A scarf. Soft cream fabric with a delicate gold pattern. Elegant, expensive. Far too stylish for the simple things she usually wore. It didn't belong to her, and she had never seen it in the house before. Her heart dropped. A scent rose from the scarf. Light, floral, unmistakable. The same perfume she had smelled on Mark's shirt when he came home late. The scent that had clung to him like a silent confession. The same note she remembered faintly from that parked car near their house. Emily held the scarf with shaking fingers. Her throat tightened as cold panic crept up her spine. She forced herself to breathe quietly so Lily, asleep in her crib nearby, wouldn't sense her distress. She had suspected something. She had felt something wrong, But seeing proof, a physical object sitting in her own hamper, sent a deeper, sharper pain through her chest. A memory flickered to life. 2 weeks earlier, Emily had been returning from a short walk with Lily's stroller when she noticed a car parked a little too close to their home. Inside it, a woman sat behind the wheel, wearing dark glasses though the afternoon wasn't bright. The woman's head had followed Emily as she walked by, but when Emily waved politely, the woman looked away quickly, pretending to check her phone. Emily hadn't thought much of it. She assumed the woman was new to the neighborhood, a relative, a delivery driver on a break. But now the memory felt different, alive, threatening. She looked at the scarf again, and the soft perfume seemed to thicken the air. Emily's hands trembled, but she didn't cry. She forced herself to stay calm. Something inside her, the quiet part she usually ignored, told her not to confront Mark. Not yet, not without understanding more. She folded the scarf slowly, gently, even though her heart screamed. She didn't throw it away. She didn't leave it in the hamper. Instead, she walked to Lily's room, opened a small wooden box beneath the crib, the box where she kept Lily's birth bracelet and essential papers, and placed the scarf inside. Her first decision not made out of fear, but out of observation. Her first step toward finding the truth. Emily closed the box and sat on the edge of Lily's crib. The baby slept peacefully, tiny fingers curled into soft fists. Emily brushed a thumb across her daughter's cheek. "I'll protect you," she whispered. A promise, a vow she felt in every bone. She waited until her hands stopped shaking before she left the room. As she walked down the hallway, she heard Mark's voice drift from the living room. He was home early. The door had been so quiet she hadn't heard it. Emily inched closer, heart pounding. Mark sat on the couch, leaning forward, one hand gripping his phone tightly. His shoulders were stiff, his jaw tense. He typed quickly, glancing toward the hallway as if afraid someone might appear. Emily froze behind the corner wall, hidden. She could see his phone screen reflected faintly in the window. A message, short, urgent. "Tonight, same place." Her breath caught. Another message. He typed fast, deleted faster. He erased the entire thread, like it had never existed. Emily's hand went to her chest as if steadying a wound that wasn't visible, but felt painfully real. She stepped back quietly so he wouldn't see her. Every instinct urged her to confront him, to ask, to cry, to break. But she didn't. Something stronger held her still, something her father had taught her without words. Silence is power when you use it right. She went to the kitchen, forcing her breathing to steady. She reached for a glass of water, but her hand trembled so badly the glass clinked against the counter. Behind her, Mark cleared his throat loudly, a forced sound, like someone hiding guilt beneath noise. Emily didn't turn around. She couldn't. Not yet. Her eyes lowered to the floor, and she didn't miss the faint tracks of mud near the back door. Fresh, uneven, as if someone had used that entrance recently. A narrow pointed heel had left a sharper mark beside his heavier footprints. Someone who didn't want to be seen. Someone who already knew the way in. That night, when Lily finally slept and the house went quiet, Emily lay awake staring at the ceiling. The scarf, the perfume, the messages, the mud. Her father's badge on the nightstand. For the first time, a clear thought rose above the fear. I need help. Real help. And in her mind, one name stood out. Steady, safe, familiar. Mr. Fenton. The elevator doors slammed open with a metallic bang that echoed down the quiet hallway, startling Emily so hard she almost dropped the diaper bag. The baby carrier strap dug into her shoulder as Lily shifted inside it with a soft murmur. Emily's heart leapt into her throat. She wasn't used to being out of the house with Lily, and the sudden crash sent a wave of panic through her chest. It felt too loud, too violent, too much like the cracks forming at home. She pressed a hand against the inside of her coat, trying to calm her heartbeat as she stepped out into the long corridor. The building was older, the kind her father had always liked. Quiet, private, dependable. The carpet muffled her footsteps as she approached a frosted glass door with a brass nameplate. Fenton and Associates, legal offices. Mr. Charles Fenton, her father's longtime lawyer, waited inside. He was in his late 50s, with careful eyes and a tired gentleness that comforted her more than words ever could. He stood when she entered, giving her a respectful nod. His gaze went first to Lily, sleeping in the carrier against Emily's chest, then to Emily's face. "Emily," he greeted softly, "you look exhausted. Sit, please." She did. Her hands shook as she placed them in her lap. She hadn't slept well since finding the scarf, and she hadn't slept at all since hearing a strange woman giggle through her husband's phone as he stepped outside to take a work call. Mr. Fenton observed her carefully, like he was studying tiny details she didn't know she was giving away. He had known her since she was a child. He had been at birthday parties, school events, even her college graduation. He had been one of the first people her father trusted. He cleared his throat, opening a file. "Your father loved you. You know that. He planned everything with you in mind." Emily's chest tightened. Just hearing her father mentioned made her eyes sting. She missed him every day. His passing had been sudden. Heart failure, the doctor said. One morning he simply didn't wake up. She had been 8 months pregnant then, heavy with grief and worry. "I know," she whispered. "I just wish I had more time with him." Mr. Fenton nodded, his expression softening. "He spent his last months making sure you and the baby would be secure. Hartwell Industries was not just a company to him. It was the legacy he built for you." Her eyes drifted to the window, where muted daylight filtered in. She remembered being 12, standing in her father's office, feeling too small for the giant desk and heavy bookshelves behind him. He had pressed a company badge into her hand with a warm smile. "You'll understand responsibility one day," he had told her. She understood now, too deeply. Mr. Fenton continued, "The full ownership is already yours, 100% of the shares. 46 properties attached to the company, liquid assets, all transferred legally." She swallowed, feeling the weight of it settle over her again. "I asked you to wait before announcing anything. I just wanted to see how Mark behaved. After losing my job, after Lily was born." Her father used to say, "Money reveals character." She hadn't wanted that to be true. She had wanted to believe Mark loved her for her. But the scarf, the giggling, the message, the late nights. Her chest ached. It all lined up like puzzle pieces she wished didn't fit. Mr. Fenton folded his hands on the desk. "There's something else you should know. Before he passed, your father upgraded all the security systems at your home. Cameras, cloud backups, motion alerts, audio triggers. He wanted you safe, wanted everything watched." Emily's head lifted sharply. "Everything?" "Yes." He paused, eyes meeting hers with meaning. "Even the garage. The system sends alerts to your phone and to a secure console here. The company's security team has emergency access codes to your house and a physical key in case you don't answer. Your father insisted." A chill whispered across her skin. The garage, the place Mark always told her to avoid, the door that never fully closed, the draft she felt, the mud on the floor, the uneasy feeling she couldn't explain. Her breath slipped out in a shaky exhale. "I didn't know. That's why I'm telling you now." His voice lowered, weighted with something she couldn't quite name. "Your father trusted me to protect you the moment anything felt wrong." She frowned. "Wrong? What do you mean?" Mr. Fenton studied her face, reading the shadows under her eyes. The tension in her shoulders, the way she clutched Lily a little tighter when he said the word wrong. Finally, he leaned forward and spoke in a tone that felt like a warning wrapped in concern. "Emily, if anything feels wrong, call me first." His paws stretched. "Not him." Emily's heart froze mid-beat. "Did my father say something about Mark?" she whispered. Mr. Fenton looked away for a brief second. "Your father noticed patterns, control, isolation. He didn't want to worry you while you were pregnant, but he asked me to make sure you were never truly alone." And somewhere deep inside her mind, a quiet fear whispered that the truth about Mark was far darker than she had allowed herself to believe. The sound hit her like lightning. Mark's laugh, loud and unfamiliar, echoing through the hallway. It wasn't the tired laugh he gave her. It wasn't the forced chuckle he used around neighbors. This laugh was full, warm, alive. A laugh he hadn't used with her in over a year. Emily froze at Lily's bedroom door, baby monitor in hand. Lily finally slept, her tiny chest rising and falling in a steady rhythm. Before stepping out, Emily checked the screen twice, made sure the volume was high, and leaned over to kiss her daughter's forehead. Earlier that evening, when she tried to look at her own phone again, Mark had snapped, "You're overthinking everything. Give me the phone. It's making you paranoid." He'd tried to take it from her hand. She had pretended to set it aside, then later slipped it under Lily's blanket, hidden but within reach just in case. Now with Lily asleep and the monitor pressed to her ear, she moved slowly toward the living room, silent as breath, and peeked around the corner. There he was. Mark sat on the couch, back straight, hair styled like he'd prepared for someone special. In front of him, his phone screen glowed brightly. He held a wine glass and smiled in a way Emily hadn't seen since before her pregnancy. On the screen was a woman, Rachel. Emily didn't know her name yet, but the sight of that face, the same woman she had seen weeks ago sitting in a car near their house, hit her so hard she had to grip the wall to stay steady. Rachel was beautiful, confident, wearing red lipstick and a silky robe. She tilted her head and giggled, sipping her own wine. Mark lifted his glass toward the screen. "Cheers!" They drank together. Emily's stomach twisted. Her knees weakened. She wanted to run, fight, scream, but she stayed silent. She had to know the truth. Every part of her needed to see how deep this betrayal went. Rachel smiled teasingly. "You look tense, baby. Did she get suspicious again?" Mark sighed dramatically. "She's always watching. I can't breathe in that house without her asking questions." A lie. Emily never questioned him. She never raised her voice. She gave and gave and gave until she had nothing left for herself. Rachel leaned closer to the screen. "It's because she knows she's losing you." She smirked. "But when she's gone, we'll finally be free." Emily's breath caught. Gone? Gone where? Gone how? Her hand trembled so hard the baby monitor nearly slipped. She pushed herself deeper into the shadows, careful not to make a sound. The monitor crackled softly with Lily's quiet breathing from the other room. Rachel swirled her wine. "You're doing so well, Mark. I'm proud of you." "She's breaking." "Exactly like you said." Emily's throat closed. Mark had spoken about her to this woman, complaining, insulting, twisting moments that had hurt Emily, but never once discussing them with her. Her mind spun back into memories. Mark criticizing her cooking, saying she was getting lazy. Mark complaining about her weight after childbirth. Mark snapping about the house not being clean enough when she could barely stand from exhaustion. Mark insulting her for crying when pregnancy hormones overwhelmed her. She remembered thinking, "He's stressed. He'll go back to normal. He loves me." She understood now. He hadn't been changing on his own. He had help. Rachel's influence had been seeping into him for months. Emily watched as Mark leaned back, his voice dropping into something darker. "I'm tired of this. She's too weak. Too dependent. You keep saying I need to handle it." Rachel's voice softened, almost affectionate. "Oh, Mark, you know what you need to do." Emily's blood ran cold. Do what? What exact thing was Rachel pushing him toward? Her fingers twitched toward the phone hidden under Lily's blanket in the next room, toward the man who had told her, "Call me first, not him." The crash slammed through the hallway like thunder. A door whipped open hard enough to shake the picture frames on the wall. Lily burst into frightened cries in Emily's arms, and Emily's heart jumped so violently she almost lost her balance. It was less than an hour after Emily had seen Mark laughing on a video call with the woman in the silky robe. She had slipped back to Lily's room, hidden her phone under the baby's blanket again, and pretended everything was normal when Mark walked past the nursery. Now nothing was normal. Mark stormed out of the living room with a rage she had never seen on him before, not even in their worst moments. His face was red, breath sharp, eyes wild with something Emily didn't recognize anymore. Something dark. Something fed by Rachel's whispers. Emily clutched Lily tighter, whispering, "It's okay, baby. I promise it's okay." Though her own voice trembled, she took a small step forward. "Mark, we need to talk." He spun toward her fast. "What did you hear?" His voice cracked with panic more than anger. Emily swallowed. I heard enough. Mark, who were you talking to? His chest heaved. His eyes darted around the room like he was searching for an escape. Then something even stranger happened. He looked toward the hallway behind Emily, as if checking whether someone else had been seen. Emily followed the direction of his gaze, and her blood went cold. From the hallway, a woman stepped into view. Rachel. Her beauty looked sharper in person. Dark hair curled perfectly, red lipstick, silky robe under a thin coat. She moved with confidence, like she belonged in this house, like she had walked these floors before, like she knew every corner. She had, because the scarf in the hamper had been hers, because the perfume on Mark had been hers, because the woman in the parked car near their home had been her, and because she was the face Emily had just seen glowing on Mark's phone screen. Rachel smiled, small, smug, victorious. She wasn't supposed to find out this soon. Emily's knees weakened. You were in my home? Rachel glanced around casually. I've been in your home a lot more than you think. Emily's fingers tightened around Lily. You both need to leave. Now, I'll call... Before she could finish, Mark closed the distance between them in 3 quick steps. Stop, he hissed. You're not calling anyone. He grabbed her wrist. His fingers dug into her skin so hard it felt like they could snap bone. Emily winced, shifting Lily higher to protect her. Mark, you're hurting me, she whispered. Rachel folded her arms, eyes cold. You said she was weak. Handle it. Something snapped in Mark then. He yanked Emily's arm away from her body and, in one sudden swing, struck her across the face with the back of his hand. The slap exploded against her cheek, sharp and shocking. Emily's head jerked sideways. White light flashed behind her eyes. Lily screamed at the sudden jolt. Emily stumbled, trying to stay upright so the baby wouldn't fall. Please, Mark, stop, she gasped, voice shaking. I'm holding Lily, please. Instead of stopping, Mark shoved her hard in the shoulder, slamming her back against the wall. Her head hit the plaster with a dull thud. Pain shot down her neck. Lily wailed louder, her tiny body pressed between Emily's chest and the impact. Rachel stepped closer, eyes narrowing. She's always playing the victim. Emily tried to move along the wall, to turn, to shield Lily from any more harm. Just let me take her to her room, she begged. I'll leave the room. I won't say anything. Just don't... Rachel rolled her eyes. Enough! She reached for the baby carrier still hanging from Emily's elbow and yanked it hard. Emily's arm twisted at an awkward angle. The strap bit into her skin. Let go, Rachel snapped. You're smothering her. She's a newborn, Emily cried. You're hurting her. Mark grabbed her other arm and pulled it away from Lily. His grip was hard, unforgiving. As Emily fought to keep hold of her child, he jerked her forward and drove his fist into her upper arm, just below the shoulder. Pain burned through the muscle. Emily's knees buckled. She almost fell, but forced herself to stay upright, curling her body around Lily. Stop fighting, Mark growled. You did this. You pushed me. Rachel gave a sharp, disgusted shove to Emily's shoulder, sending her stumbling toward the back hallway, toward the garage door he always told her not to open, the door that had been slightly ajar so many times, the door Emily now knew someone had been using. Emily's breath tore from her throat. Mark, please, don't do this. Let me hold Lily, please. You should have stayed out of things, he snapped. Rachel walked ahead of them and opened the garage door with a forceful pull. The cold air rushed into the house, biting at Emily's skin. The metallic smell of concrete filled her lungs. The room looked dark, too dark, and she remembered what Mr. Fenton had told her just the day before. Even the garage. Mark, she whispered, voice breaking, please, Lily can't be in the cold. You're scaring her. He didn't listen. Mark wrenched her forward and shoved her through the doorway. She tried to turn so her body would take the impact instead of Lily, and her hips slammed into a stack of boxes. The pain radiated down her side. Rachel stepped in behind Mark and gave Emily one last hard push between the shoulders. Get in there. Maybe you'll finally stop whining. Emily stumbled deeper into the garage, barely catching herself before she fell. She clutched Lily so tightly her arms shook. Mark grabbed the edge of the door. Emily's eyes widened. No, Mark, no, don't shut. He slammed it. The heavy door clanged shut with finality, leaving mother and newborn in the cold dark. The silence afterward felt like a grave. Emily forced her breathing to steady. Her cheek throbbed where he hit her. Her wrist and arm burned where he had grabbed and punched her. She kissed Lily's forehead, whispering softly to calm her child's fear and her own. The darkness swallowed her, but she refused to panic. Then she saw it, a tiny red blinking light near the ceiling, a camera, her father's upgraded camera, recording, saving, watching, the cloud backup activated with a faint flash. Relief flooded her chest. Tears slipped down her cheeks, not only from pain or fear, but from hope. She looked up at the blinking red dot, voice barely a whisper. "Thank you, Dad." In the silence, a soft vibration hummed beneath Lily's blanket, unnoticed by Mark, unseen by Rachel, and carrying the message that would change everything. The cold wrapped around Emily so fast it stole her breath. The garage felt like a freezer, and the shock of it punched through her thin clothes, slicing straight to her bones. Lily cried harder, her tiny body shaking against Emily's chest. Emily's instincts exploded. She curled her whole body around her newborn, shielding her from the cold, the fear, the darkness. Her cheek burned where Mark's hand had struck her. Her upper arm throbbed from the blow of his fist. Her wrist and shoulder screamed from his grip and the shove into the wall. Every breath made her ribs ache. "Shh, baby. Mommy's here." Her voice cracked. She hoped Lily couldn't feel how terrified she was. She lowered herself slowly onto the concrete floor, careful not to jostle her child. The sting of the cold ground shot pain up her legs, but she didn't move. All that mattered was keeping Lily warm, keeping Lily safe. Her mind raced in every direction but landed on one truth. They meant to leave her here, not for minutes, not for an argument, but as a punishment, a warning, maybe something worse. Her breath trembled, tears spilled, but they were silent, controlled. She willed herself not to break. In the corner, the small red light blinked, steady, calm, watching. She clung to it with desperate hope. Dad protected us. Dad saw this coming. Dad knew. That thought warmed her more than her own trembling body could. Minutes passed slowly, like time was moving through ice. Emily's fingers were numb, but they still found the edge of Lily's blanket. Hidden beneath it was her phone. She had tucked it there earlier, after Mark tried to take it away, to stop you from overthinking. She hadn't trusted his sudden concern then. Now she knew why. Suddenly the phone buzzed against her palm. A violent, bright shock tore through her chest. Emily gasped, fumbling to free the phone with stiff fingers. She shielded Lily with one arm while opening the screen with the other. The notification glowed. "Security alert! Motion and impact detected in garage. Are you safe?" Her breath cracked in relief and disbelief. This wasn't luck. This wasn't coincidence. Mr. Fenton had said it clearly. Her father upgraded everything, even the garage. With shaking hands, Emily typed back, "No, trapped with baby. He hit me. Please help us." The reply came fast. Too fast for a company that didn't care. Her father's people cared. They always had. Her father treated his staff with kindness, fairness, and respect. And they had loved him deeply. They loved Emily too, watched her grow up in the office hallways, laughing with her father, hugging him after meetings. They would come. They would not leave her here. Another message appeared. "Emergency team and police notified. We are on our way. Stay still. Do not confront them. Door will open soon." A sob of relief left her lips. Above the garage, footsteps moved faintly. Mark and Rachel pacing, arguing, unaware that the house itself had turned against them. Emily pressed Lily closer, whispering, "Just a little longer, baby. Just a little longer." Within minutes, heavier footsteps sounded outside, urgent, focused. The garage door rattled as someone worked the external lock and override panel her father had installed. Light burst in, warm and blinding after the dark. Two security officers rushed in first, company security, her father's trusted team. Their faces hardened with anger at the sight of her on the ground. Hair disheveled, cheek already reddening, arm held protectively around her baby. "Emily, we've got you. Stay still," one said, kneeling beside her. Behind them came Mr. Charles Fenton, her father's longtime lawyer, breathless from running, coat thrown over his shirt as if he had left his desk the second the alert came in. His calm eyes, always steady, were now sharp with worry and fury. He crouched beside her. "Emily, are you hurt?" "I'm okay," she whispered automatically, though she wasn't. "Just cold and sore. He hit me." "But Lily," the officers helped her stand. Mr. Fenton gently brushed her hair away from her face, his jaw tightening at the sight of the swelling on her cheek. "We're getting you both out of here," he said softly, but his eyes were made of steel. He checked Lily quickly. "She's cold but breathing steady. No obvious injuries." From inside the house came raised voices, Mark and Rachel, startled by the sudden noise outside, shouting questions, and neither security nor police would answer. One of the security officers spoke into his radio. "Mother and child recovered. Visible injuries on victim. Police are at the front. We're escorting her out now. Keep eyes on the husband and the woman. No one leaves." Emily's knees shook as they led her through the side door, away from the voices, away from the hallway where everything had shattered. She didn't look back. Mr. Fenton stayed close, one hand hovering near her elbow in case she stumbled. "We're taking you straight to the office," he said quietly. "You'll be safe there. A medic will check you, and then we make sure this never happens again." Emily nodded weakly. The cold still clung to her bones, but something else was rising now. Slow, steady, fierce. By the time they reached the car, her fear had shifted into something new. Resolve. Mr. Fenton placed a steady hand on her shoulder. His voice dropped low, urgent, decisive. "Emily, we need to move quickly. I know exactly what to do." And as the car pulled away from the house that once felt like home, Emily didn't yet realize that every slap, every shove, every second of that garage footage was already waiting on a screen, ready to turn her pain into undeniable proof. The office door slammed shut behind them so hard the windows rattled. Emily flinched before she could stop herself. Lily whimpered softly in her arms. The sound had been too sharp, too sudden, too much like the doors Mark had slammed before dragging her into the wall and then the garage. "Sorry," one of the security officers said quickly, lowering his hand from the closing door. "We just wanted to make sure no one follows and no one sees us from the hall." Emily nodded, breath shaky, arms tightening around her newborn. She was safe now. The officers had left another team at the house, waiting for the police to finish. Mark and Rachel weren't going anywhere. But her body didn't know safety yet. Every loud sound felt like danger. Every shadow felt like Mark or Rachel was hiding behind it. Mr. Fenton placed a gentle hand on her back and guided her deeper into his office. "Come, sit. We need to begin immediately." The room was warm and filled with soft light, so different from the icy garage. Emily sat down slowly, careful not to disturb Lily. The baby had fallen asleep again, nestled against her chest, unaware of the storm unfolding around her. A woman in a medical uniform, one of the company's contracted nurses, stepped in quietly. "Ms. Hart, may I check you quickly?" Emily nodded. The nurse examined her cheek, her upper arm, her wrist. "Bruising is already forming," she said softly. "We'll document this with photos if that's all right. It will help in court." Emily hesitated, then nodded again. "If it keeps Lily safe, do whatever you need." The nurse took pictures gently, respectfully. Emily tried not to think about how she'd gotten each mark. A large screen blinked on in front of them. The garage footage loaded, clear, sharp, unmistakable, pulled directly from the cloud backup her father had insisted on. Emily's breath caught the moment she saw herself on the screen. The shaking, the fear, the way she curled around Lily, the way Mark's hands struck her face, the way his fists drove into her arm, the way Rachel shoved her toward the dark. It didn't feel real. It felt like watching someone else, someone she wanted to save. Mr. Fenton watched her, not the screen. "This is strong evidence. They didn't know the camera existed. They didn't know everything your father installed backed up to the cloud." Emily swallowed, voice breaking. He saved us, even after he was gone." "He did," Mr. Fenton said firmly, "and now we will make sure his protection continues." He clicked a button. The footage replayed, but this time slowed down. Every detail was visible. The moment Mark's hand connected with her cheek, the angle of his fist slamming into her arm, Rachel's smirk as she pushed Emily toward the garage, the cold air swirling in as the door opened, the panic in Emily's eyes. The moment the door slammed shut on them, Emily looked away, pressing her lips together to keep from crying. "What now?" she whispered. Mr. Fenton stood, gathering documents with swift, precise movements. "Now we act." One of the security officers stepped forward. "The police have already separated Mark and Rachel and are taking statements. We've sent them copies of the footage and the motion alert log. They've marked this as domestic assault and unlawful restraint. Child endangerment is being reviewed as well." Another officer added, "An emergency protection order request is already in. With this video and the photographs of your injuries, it will be hard for the court to refuse. Neither of them will be allowed near you or your child." Emily felt her shoulders loosen, just slightly. Mr. Fenton placed a set of papers in front of her. "This is the divorce petition. We're filing on grounds of domestic violence, endangerment, and abuse. It will move quickly, at least for temporary orders." She stared at the papers, chest tightening. She had loved Mark. He had once been the man she chose, the man she thought would protect her. She had promised forever. And now she was signing the end of everything. Her hand trembled as she picked up the pen. "He changed," she whispered. "No." Mr. Fenton shook his head gently. "He chose to hurt you. He let someone encourage his worst parts. But his actions were his own." Emily signed. A single tear fell onto the paper. Mr. Fenton continued, voice steady and sharp. "And one more thing." He pulled out another file, thicker, official-looking, marked with the company seal. "The board has been informed of what happened, and they've seen this footage. Since Mark is a mid-level manager at Hartwell Industries, and since you are now the owner—" Emily's heart paused. He looked her directly in the eyes. "He has been removed from his position, effective immediately. All access to company properties, accounts, and files has been revoked. His badge will no longer work. His email is suspended. He has no authority there." Emily's breath trembled with a mix of shock, grief, and a rising strength. "He doesn't know yet," Mr. Fenton added, "but he will soon." Her father's company, her inheritance, her power. She had never wanted to use any of it, but now she had to. For Lily, for herself. Mr. Fenton slowly slid a final document across the desk. "This," he said quietly, "is everything we will need for tomorrow's emergency hearing." Emily blinked. "What happens tomorrow?" He studied her face, a face bruised, shaken, but slowly waking into resolve. He placed the file gently into her hands. "We'll go to court. We'll show the judge exactly what he did. We'll ask for full temporary custody, a protection order, and formal recognition of your role as Hartwell's owner. You're not just a victim, Emily. You're a witness, and you're in charge now." Emily's fingers tightened around the folder. What if I'm not ready?" she whispered. "You are," he said softly. "You were the moment you stood up with those injuries and still thought first about your child." And as the clock in the lawyer's office ticked forward, tomorrow moved closer, carrying a reckoning where every bruise and every frame of that footage would speak louder than any excuse. The courtroom doors burst open with a force that made every head turn. The noise echoed like a warning, sharp and unforgiving. Emily stepped through them, Lily's soft blanket folded neatly in her hand. Not because she needed it today, but because holding it reminded her why she fought. Her steps were steady, calm, controlled. It had been only a few days since the night in the garage. The swelling on her cheek had lessened, but faint discoloration still lingered along her jaw. A long bruise shadowed her upper arm where Mark's fist had landed. Her wrist carried the yellowing marks of his grip. She walked into the room filled with strangers' eyes, but she didn't shrink. For the first time in weeks, Emily held herself tall. Mr. Fenton walked at her side, carrying a thick file and a laptop bag. Behind him came two people, board members from Hartwell Industries, elderly, stern, loyal to her father. Their presence wasn't just support, it was a message. Mark entered moments later. He walked with a confident stride, chin up, wearing a polished suit as if he were attending a business meeting rather than an emergency hearing for protection and custody. He didn't notice Emily at first. He didn't see the lawyer. He didn't see the board members, but when he did, his confidence cracked, his eyes widened, his lips parted, his steps faltered. He hadn't expected her to show strength. He hadn't expected her to rise after what he did. He hadn't expected witnesses. Rachel slipped into the room next. She moved quietly, trying to blend in with the crowd. Dark glasses, hair pulled back, coat too large for her small frame. But the moment she took a seat, a clerk walked over and handed her a subpoena. She stiffened, color draining from her face. Emily watched her with cold clarity. This was the woman who giggled while planning Emily's pain. This was the woman who walked through her hallway when Emily slept. This was the woman who encouraged Mark to harden his heart. And now she couldn't hide from the truth. The judge entered. Everyone rose. The room settled into silence. The proceedings began quickly. This was a hearing for emergency protection, temporary custody, and the first step in a longer divorce and criminal process. Mr. Fenton stood with practiced ease. "Your Honor," he said calmly, "this is a case involving domestic violence, endangerment, and unlawful restraint of a mother and her newborn. The evidence will speak for itself." The judge nodded. "Proceed." Mr. Fenton opened the laptop. Emily's pulse thundered in her ears. He played the footage. The garage appeared on the screen. The cold room, the blinking light, Emily clutching Lily. The video then cut to the hallway outside. Mark's hand striking her face, her head snapping sideways, her arm jerking back as he punched it. Rachel's shove. Then the view shifted to the garage again as they forced her inside and slammed the door. Gasps rippled across the courtroom. Mark's face blanched. His mouth dropped open, and he sank into his chair as if his legs could no longer hold him. Rachel slapped a hand over her lips, shaking her head in horror. Not at what they had done, but at being caught. The judge leaned forward, expression tight, controlled fury simmering beneath. Mr. Fenton let the footage finish before speaking. "Your Honor, this occurred with a 3-week-old infant in her arms. We also have photographs taken the same night at my office documenting bruising consistent with the video." He clicked again. Images appeared, Emily's cheek swollen and red, her upper arm darkening with the shape of a fist, her wrist marked where fingers had dug in. "The security system recorded motion and impact in the garage as well," Mr. Fenton added. "Alerts were sent automatically, which is how we reached her in time." The judge looked at Mark. "Do you have anything to say at this stage?" Mark broke. He stood shakily. "Your Honor, this looks bad, but I didn't mean, they were just arguments. Emily pushed me. Rachel stiffened. "Don't blame me. You were the one who hit her. I told you to calm down." Mr. Fenton raised a hand calmly. "Your Honor, you can also hear them turn on each other under oath." The courtroom dissolved into gasps and whispers as Mark and Rachel stared at each other with fresh hatred. Mr. Fenton took a breath. "Before closing, one more matter must be formally noted for the record." He signaled the board members. Both stepped forward. "Emily Hart," one of them said clearly, "as of 30 days ago, you were declared the legal owner of Hartwell Industries. You hold 100% of the shares." A shockwave passed through the courtroom. Emily didn't blink. She already knew. But the public announcement hit Mark like a violent blow. His job, his access, his power. Gone. The board member continued. "Following the events recorded in this footage, Mr. Mark Anderson's employment has been terminated. He has no access to company resources. Hartwell Industries supports Ms. Hart's petition for protection and full temporary custody and will cooperate fully with law enforcement in any criminal proceedings." Rachel's face drained to ash. She realized in one instant that Mark had nothing to offer her now. Nothing. No future. No money. No security. She stood slowly, trying not to be noticed, and slipped out the side exit, leaving Mark without a backward glance. Mark staggered toward Emily after being told to sit back down, eyes glassy with panic. "Emily, please don't do this. Please, I'm begging you. I lost control, that's all. You know me. I didn't mean to hurt you that bad." Emily didn't speak. She stood perfectly still, Lily's blanket in her hand, strength in her spine. Then she turned away from him and faced the judge instead. Behind her, the judge reached for the pen in the final document, the one that would grant Emily full temporary custody, a protection order, and set in motion the criminal case that would follow him long after this day. The moving truck door slammed shut so hard the noise shook the quiet morning. Emily jumped, clutching Lily protectively, her heart leaping the same way it had in the garage. Even now, weeks after the hearing, loud sounds still sent her mind racing back to the cold concrete, the sting of a hand across her face, and the echo of a door slamming behind her. But this time, when she lifted her eyes, she didn't see darkness. She saw her father's estate, wide open, sunlit, peaceful. Tall trees lined the long driveway like quiet guardians, and the air carried the scent of fresh grass and warm sunlight. The house itself stood firm and familiar, large, calm, strong, just like her father had always been. The security team, the same group who rescued her that night, moved around the property, installing new locks and cameras. The board members had insisted on it. They wanted Emily and Lily safe in every way possible. Emily breathed in slowly. This place felt like a heartbeat, steady, warm, home. She walked toward the porch, Lily asleep against her chest, wrapped in a soft blanket. Her steps were slow, as if each one carried years of weight being lifted away. Inside the house, Mr. Fenton waited in the old study, her father's favorite room. Books lined the walls. A painting of the company's original building hung beside the desk. Emily had played on that rug as a child, building towers out of blocks while her father reviewed papers. Now she walked in as the owner of everything he built. "Emily," Mr. Fenton said warmly, "the board is ready whenever you are." She nodded, settling Lily in a bassinet beside the desk. "I'm ready." The board members joined them. Mr. Grant, who had known her father since before Emily was born, and Mrs. Lawson, a calm, brilliant woman who had guided company strategy for years. They greeted Emily with respect, not pity, not concern, respect. Mrs. Lawson smiled. "Your father would be proud. You carry his strength." Emily sat down at the large wooden desk, her father's desk. The weight of the position rested on her shoulders, but for the first time, she didn't feel crushed by it. She felt grounded. The training began. They explained the structure of the company, the board responsibilities, the transition plan now that she was CEO in training. Emily listened carefully, taking notes, asking questions. She wanted to learn. She wanted to rise. She wanted to honor her father's legacy. A flashback drifted gently into her mind, the day she graduated from college. She had been nervous, unsure what path she wanted. Her father hugged her tightly, eyes warm. "You'll rise when you're ready," he had whispered. She hadn't understood then. She understood now. She rose because she had to, because she needed to, because Lily needed her strong. The legal process moved forward too. After the emergency hearing came more hearings, more documents, more steps. She attended them all, with Mr. Fenton at her side, the board behind her, and Lily waiting safely at home with trusted care. And Mark? Mark Anderson lost everything. He lost his job, terminated the moment the board saw the footage of his hand on Emily's face and his fist in her arm. He lost his home. The protection order and court rulings forced him out, granting Emily and Lily full possession of the marital house until the divorce was final. He lost his mistress. Rachel cooperated with investigators to reduce her own exposure, then vanished from his life once she realized he had nothing left. He lost his reputation. The court records and the whispered retelling of the garage video spread further than he ever expected. And finally, months later, after the full criminal trial where the footage played again in front of another judge and another room full of strangers, he lost his freedom, sentenced for domestic assault, unlawful restraint, and endangerment. Emily did not celebrate his downfall. She did not smile at the destruction of a man she once loved, but she did not cry for him either. He had taken her trust and twisted it. He had tried to break her. He had put his own newborn child at risk. Some consequences come softly. Some come like storms. Hers came like the dawn, gentle, unstoppable, full of light. Later that evening, Emily stood at the back of the estate, holding Lily in her arms. The sun dipped low, casting golden light across the yard. In the stillness, Emily whispered into her daughter's hair, "You'll grow up knowing strength doesn't shout, it proves." She kissed Lily's forehead. Her gaze drifted to the far corner of the property where an old storage garage stood, empty now, quiet, sunlight pouring through open doors. It was nothing like the one Mark had trapped her in, yet her heart still flinched at the sight of concrete and shadows. She stared at it for a long moment, feeling the weight of what had happened and the miracle of what had survived. The place where she almost lost everything had become the story that helped her find herself again. A soft breeze brushed against her cheek, and in it, she felt something like her father's presence, steady, gentle, proud. And somewhere beyond that breeze, beyond the estate's gates, beyond the new beginnings she held in her arms, something else was coming. Not danger, not fear, something new, something unexpected, something she would soon have to face, with the same quiet strength that had carried her out of that garage. I hope you enjoyed watching it as much as I enjoyed creating it. Like, share, and comment on the lessons you've learned. Let me know where you're watching from in the comments below. See you in my next video.